Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and today it is time to predict the BAFTA nominations. Now, this is going to be interesting because this is coming after Oscar nominations. So now we kind of have to figure out what BAFTA is going to do, knowing what the Oscar outcome already is. Because BAFTA sometimes throws us some curveballs that end up getting nominated for the Oscars, which is very interesting. So yeah, but also knowing what has happened at the Oscars, knowing, for example, there are some categories that Sentimental Value got into that the BAFTAs didn't even long list, makes things a little bit interesting to go, okay, now that that's not in the question, what else could possibly happen? And let's just start off with Best Film, shall we? Now, this is interesting because Sinners has broken the all-time Oscar nomination record. Shattered. Not just broken the record, shattered it. And I'm not going to lie, it is very compelling that, maybe it could win the Oscar for Best Picture at this point. I mean, it shattered the record, and it's going to win Writers Guild. It could maybe win SAG. Can it win PGA? But however, no matter what happens, I think maybe One Battle After Another wins the BAFTA for Best Film. Because BAFTA, even when, the tide turns at the guilds, the BAFTAs kind of just stay in place, usually. They still gave Roma Best Picture, or Best Film at BAFTA, usually. They still gave The Revenant Best Film. They gave... What was it? They gave... La La Land Best Film. They gave Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri Best Film. 1917, Power of the Dog, and All Quiet on the Western Front, and Conclave. Unless there's an unequivocal sweeper, Nomadland and Oppenheimer, they tend to stay in line when there's a bit of a shakeup. And no matter what happens, whether or not, One Battle After Another, it does end up sweeping the entire way through, or Sinners manages to pull through with the guilds, I think no matter what happens, One Battle After Another is gonna win the BAFTA. Now, some people are probably going to be saying, well, why not Hamnet? Why wouldn't Hamnet win? Well, I don't think Hamnet is really strong enough to win Best Film. I mean, I don't know. I mean, one could argue that, Conclave managed to do it when the Brutalist ended up not being, that strong of a contender. But at the same time, I don't know. It's I don't really see the same problems arising with Hamnet as the Brutalist. I mean, granted, Hamnet did underperform with the Oscar nominations in not getting Paul Mescal. But again, it's I don't really think it's as consequential as something like The Brutalist, which The Brutalist was very hit or miss with some of those guilds, or not even just guilds, but just award season in general. I remember, at the Critics' Choice Awards, Felicity Jones didn't get nominated for supporting actress, and then SAG really hated The Brutalist. They didn't nominate Felicity Jones, they didn't nominate Guy Pearce. They were just not having it. Whereas with even SAG, they still really seem to like Hamnet. But still, why am I digressing here? 'Cause, I don't know. Despite all that, I just don't see Hamnet as that much of a strong winner. And at least with Conclave, you could say, well, I mean, it was sweeping, adapted screenplay. The only film that's sweeping adapted screenplay is One Battle After Another. Nothing's really challenging it. And some people would probably say, well, I mean, it's still more of an American kind of film dealing with American politics. It's I don't know, BAFTA kind of likes it when there's movies that talk about our fucked up politics. They really liked Vice. They really liked Don't Look Up. I'm trying to think of what else they really liked. Oh yeah, they really liked The Apprentice. I mean, they shortlisted that for Best Film. I mean, my God. The BAFTAs really like looking at our screwed up politics through, movies. So I feel like one battle after another, like, I think it would still win. And plus, BAFTA likes Paul Thomas Anderson. I mean, let's not forget, they gave Licorice Pizza original screenplay over their own. Like, Sir Kenneth Branagh in Belfast did not win original screenplay at BAFTA that year, even though he won the Oscar. Like, Licorice Pizza still won the BAFTA. So it's like, if they're going to give it to him for Licorice Pizza, then I feel like they're going to really like one battle after another. Again, the Guild is where I'm thinking Sinners may actually like turn the tide, because my God, I feel like, again, shattering the all-time nomination record, and one battle after another kind of underperforming in some ways, really makes me wonder what's going to happen at the Guilds. But no matter what the Guilds do, I feel like one battle after another is going to win Best Film at BAFTA. Like, no matter what happens. Marty Supreme, I feel like that's just a strong contender overall. I don't see any real reason to doubt that. And then number 5 was really hard, because I tried going like, am I going to do Sentimental Value or am I going to do Begonia? But ultimately, I settled on Begonia, because Sentimental Value kind of underperformed in some BAFTA long lists. Like, they did not longlist Elle Fanning, and they did not longlist the film for Best Editing, which, ironically enough, it got both those nominations at the Oscars. So it's kind of clear that the Oscars liked Sentimental Value more than BAFTA did. And whereas with Begonia, it very much overperformed in the BAFTA long lists. You know, it got Best Sound, it got Best Makeup, it got like production design mentions in the long lists. Begonia really did well here. It did really well in the long lists. So I actually do think it could stand and also, the BAFTAs seem to really like Begonia. Not Begonia, but the BAFTAs really seem to like Yorgos Lanthimos' films. Like, they really love The Favorite. They really love Poor Things. So maybe they just might really like Begonia. So I'm going to go Begonia. But again, Sentimental Value is right there. I think that that could also get into the nominations. Sentimental Value is interesting. No, not Sentimental Value. Frankenstein is interesting. Because again, on paper it does make sense, but the problem is it didn't get Guillermo del Toro in director. Ew. Guillermo del Toro not being shortlisted for director here. And again, Yorgos Lanthimos being longlisted above him. I feel like kind of shows that the BAFTA's not as high on Frankenstein as some of the others. I mean, actually, they're probably about as high on Frankenstein as even the Oscars were, to an extent, because even the Oscars didn't nominate Guillermo del Toro, so still. But then you got some of the British films like I Swear and The Ballad of Wallace Island. I don't think they're going to get nominated, but again, it's pretty notable that they got nominated here. Nuremberg is the weird one. Ultimately, that ended up getting no Oscar nominations. So I'm just kind of wondering, what did the BAFTAs see in Nuremberg? Now, granted, I actually did see Nuremberg. It's great. But I'm just like, how did that get in? Because it didn't get nominated for any Oscars. And it's not even a British film. It's actually an American film. So it's again, you can rationalize I Swear and Ballad of Wallace Island, because it's they're British films, they're kind of independent films. It's yeah, it's pretty clear that the British would like that. Nuremberg doesn't really check any of those boxes. It's it's not British. It's very American. I mean, yeah, there's some British actors, but I don't think that's why the BAFTAs would go for it. So it's just kind of what's it even doing here to begin with? Again, I'm not upset that it's there. Again, hey, I think Nuremberg's pretty underrated. But I will say it is very odd knowing that it got no Oscar nominations, and yet it shows up on quite a few shortlists, including Best Film. Again, you can at least rationalize The Apprentice, because Sebastian Stan and what's his name? Jeremy Strong were really getting up there as potential Oscar nominees. And so, yeah, but here with Nuremberg, it's none of that ever even happened. Hell, the first time Nuremberg has ever showed up was the BAFTA long lists. But again, it also didn't really overperform All Quiet on the Western Front did. I mean, it overperformed to an extent where it's it actually showed up, But it's not like an All Quiet on the Western Front thing where it got shortlisted in every single category it was competitive in. Nuremberg didn't really do that. So again, I'm not sure what's going on there. Then we get to director, okay? Again, knowing that we have what we have at the Oscars right now. All right, like we have One Battle After Another, Paul Thomas Anderson. I think he's going to get nominated. Hamnet, yeah. Sentimental Value, sure. Initially, I was kind of like, I've been worried about Ryan Coogler, but again, the fact that they just like, they did not nominate Guillermo del Toro, it's like, okay. And admittedly, it's like, the way the long lists at BAFTA work, it's like, I'd be kind of like, because the way it works, it's like, essentially, it's 5 men, 5 women, and there are 6 slots. Ryan Coogler has to get in here. Like, I can't imagine a world, like, I can't really imagine a world where he just doesn't get in. So I'm basically doing the director 5 we got at the Oscars, including, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, but I'm also putting in Yorgos Lanthimos for Begonia. Because, again, I feel like the BAFTAs are going to really like this movie. And really, that's also like the only other like Best Picture nominated film, like the only other Best Picture adjacent film, whereas all these others, Die My Love, The Voice of Hind Rajab, A House of Dynamite, and Rental Family. I mean, they have some buzz, but I don't know. Like, I don't really think these are going to happen. I mean, especially now that the directors category and also the acting categories, they're not voted on by a jury anymore. I mean, like some of the long list mentions, yeah, they're put in by a by a jury, but like the actual nominations themselves, the jury doesn't do that anymore. Like it's actually the entire branch. So, like I don't really think there's gonna be any kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I guess I don't really need to say much about director. I mean, again, I do feel like One Battle After Another does, like, Paul Thomas Anderson does take director here. I am kind of wondering what will happen at DGA, but I'm still expecting Paul Thomas Anderson because, I don't know. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's still one of the situations where I feel like Sinners could win Best Picture without director. But a lot of people seem to say that no, if Sinners wins Best Picture, it would win director. Again, I'm very curious. But again, this is one of those situations where BAFTA and Oscar are willing to, differ in their taste for director. Like, lest we forget, like last year, Brady Corbet won Best Director for The Brutalist, and before that, we had, Edward Berger for All Quiet on the Western Front. So it's an interesting situation, but right now, but obviously still. Over here, like, where One Battle After Another is going to be stronger here than at the Oscars, potentially speaking, we'll have to see. Paul Thomas Anderson is winning director here, so yeah. Then we get to lead actress, and I'm gonna go a little bit away from the Oscars. Obviously, Jessie Buckley, she's winning, so that's easy. Renate Reinsva for Sentimental Value, easy. Emma Stone for Begonia. I mean, if the BAFTAs really love Begonia as much as they will, as I'm expecting that they will, I feel like Emma Stone has a very, very good, like, I'm not saying she's going to win, but if there were ever a place where she could maybe upset, it would be here. But again, it's just going to be Jessie Buckley all the way through. Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. And then there's the last 2 slots, which are very interesting. I'm not doing Kate Hudson, because she did get the Oscar nomination, but I feel like that's a performance that would do better in America than over in, over in British land. Because I don't know, like, because he got Tessa Thompson for Hedda, which is like a British coded film, so you could, yeah, and also not only that, but Tessa Thompson is a previous BAFTA nominee. Now, granted, was she a jury pick? I'm not sure. And then there's Chase Infinity for One Battle After Another, which again is like probably winning Best Picture here, but also again, it's like, yeah, she didn't get the Oscar nomination, but Kate Hudson, I just don't know if that performance and that film, Song Sung Blue, would play as well over at BAFTA. No, than it would over here in the States. I just don't know about that. Because, like, you still have, Annette Bening. Annette Bening didn't get nominated here. So, yeah. You also got Jennifer Lawrence for Die My Love. It is a British film. Do I think Jennifer Lawrence is going to win here? I'm not sure about that. Not win, but do I think she's going to get nominated here? I'm not sure about that. Andrea Riseborough for Dragonfly, I don't know. And then here's where we talk about Wicked. Now, well, you're probably wondering, why do I have Cynthia Erivo this low? Guys, the Academy Awards blanked on Wicked. They blanked on Wicked. For context, the first Wicked, it did very well at the Oscar nominations, getting 10 nominations. But at BAFTA, it kind of underperformed. You know, it didn't get film editing. It didn't get, you know, like score. Like it didn't do as well. Like the first film didn't do as well with BAFTA nominations than at the Oscars. So knowing this, knowing that even the Oscars completely, like, just did nothing with Wicked. Like, didn't, like, just completely shut it out of every category imaginable. Even the no-brainers, like makeup and costumes, they still said no to. Like, absolutely not. We are not, they literally said we are not going to touch that film with a 30-foot pole. If the Oscars did that, like, do we really think the BAFTAs, like, aren't going to be even worse towards this movie? I think Wicked, like, if it blanked at the Oscars, I think it's going to blank here. Like, the BAFTAs, again, my logic is that the BAFTAs didn't even like the first Wicked as much as the Oscars did. Do you really think they're going to suddenly like this one more than the Oscars? No. Like, at this point, if you're actually predicting, like, okay, well, and we'll get to supporting actors here in a bit, but I know that I've seen some people, like, predicting Ariana Grande for a BAFTA nomination here. It's like, are you insane? Did you just see what happened at the Oscars? No, you can't do that. You genuinely cannot, like, think that it's going to perform any better here than at the Oscars. No, absolutely not. So yeah, no, Cynthia Erivo, definitely not happening here. No. But yeah, still. Lead actor. This is interesting because Wagner Moura was not longlisted here. So, who do I have? Well, I have Timothée Chalamet, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio. Easy. Because of how strong Sinners was, I feel like Michael B. Jordan would still get in here. Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon. Again, I don't really see a reason to doubt him. And this is where I actually do see Jesse Plemons getting in. I mean, again, like, there's 6 slots. Jesse Plemons could definitely get in here. And again, there's 6 slots, and they didn't even nominate, you know, Wagner Moura. So, you know. And then there's the 6th slot. I could go with Robert Aramayo for I Swear, but I don't know. That sounds like more of a jury thing, because I feel like when you expand the lineup to 6 and you take out Wagner Moura, you could squeeze in Joel Edgerton for Train Dreams. You probably could do that. But again, like, that 5th slot's kind of up in the air, because they could do Robert Aramayo for I Swear. They could do Russell Crowe for Nuremberg. If they did him, that would be impressive. That'd be like, oh, okay. So, but yeah, that's one thing I'm kind of wondering. It's like, my thing is, like, how strong will Nuremberg be at BAFTA? So we'll have to see. Harry Melling for Pillion, and Cillian Murphy for Steve. I am Steve. So yeah, I guess there's not much for me to really discuss here, again, because we already know what the Oscar nominees are. So I think the best bet for me right now is to go with, you know, someone who we go with people that we know were nominated for the Oscar, but also play a little bit of games here and there. Like, who could get nominated in, like who is close to the Oscar, knowing what the Oscar nominations were. So yeah. Then we get to supporting actress. All right. This is interesting. Because I genuinely do feel like Wunmi Masaku has a very good case to make for a supporting actress here. And you're probably wondering, why would she win here? Especially if you have One Bite Left Another winning BAFTA. Well, here's the thing. BAFTA sometimes does give, Best Picture wins to films that they did not give any acting wins to, Like, for example, All Quiet on the Western Front, that didn't win any acting awards. That won best picture there. Conclave, that won best film there at BAFTA. That didn't get any acting wins. What I'm trying to think of what else. Power of the Dog, that didn't win any BAFTAs for acting, and that ended up winning best film. 1917, that was another example. Trying to think of what other examples were there. Oh yeah, Roma, they did Roma. They didn't give that any acting wins whatsoever. And I'm trying to think I'm trying basically, I feel like the Oscars are more likely to give acting wins to films that they're more likely to pair up their best picture films, like their best picture winning films, with performances that to come along with the win. Whereas BAFTA is not as keen on doing that. So I think I can have one battle after another, maybe miss out on some acting wins. Because the thing is, with Wunmi Masaku, again, assuming Sinners does very well here, we'll have to see. But here's the thing. Wunmi Masaku is not only British, but she's also, apparently I was wrong about this. She's not a previous BAFTA nominee. She's a previous BAFTA winner. She won a television BAFTA. So, knowing that history with BAFTA, she could feasibly win here. She genuinely could feasibly win. Because I'm also thinking, again, with the assumption that, Sinners does end up taking Best Picture at the end of the day at the Oscars. I mean, who could possibly win an acting award? Well, again, you could maybe see Michael B. Jordan taking SAG. I mean, I don't know if I would predict him. I think right now I would still predict Timothée Chalamet, but if you wanted to pair Sinners with an acting prize, you could feasibly do Wunmi Masaku. You could, because Amy Madigan, I don't feel like she's gonna win the Oscar. I mean, not with Weapons not being in Best Picture, and now especially after that Golden Globes loss, it's like, oh, okay, so she's optional. You don't really, they don't feel like they need to give her a win for this, because I feel like if Amy Madigan wanted to win, obviously she, you know what I mean. If people really wanted Amy Madigan to win, if voters really wanted her to win, they would have voted for her. She would have swept. I think that's the thing. It's like if Amy Madigan was going to win the Oscar, she would need to sweep all the way through. And already early on at the Golden Globes, she lost. And again, Tiana Taylor could maybe win here. She could. But the reason why I'm going with Wunmi Masaku is because, again, Sinners has a very good case to win Best Picture. And Wunmi Masaku, and the thing is, if the film is a top 2 for best picture, and you have someone who is British and has established cred with BAFTA, she could win this. She genuinely could win this. So that's why I'm really keeping an eye out for her. Again, Tiana Taylor maybe she just wins here. Okay, but again, it's just a very compelling argument. It's again, BAFTA has been known to give Best Picture to films that they don't really give any acting awards to. So it's not, again, more so than the Oscars at least. But Wunmi Masaku, I feel like there is a chance that she wins BAFTA and SAG. Because again, the Sinners is coming on pretty strong, and even if Sinners doesn't do as well here as it will as it probably could at the Oscars, I don't know. But again, who knows? Maybe Inga Ivdalir-Lilias wins supporting actress. But again, I find that a little bit hard to believe because of how BAFTA treated this film. Again, they did not longlist Elle Fanning. They did not longlist the film for film editing. It's pretty clear they don't like it as much as the Oscars do. So we'll have to see. And then there's the last 2 slots, which again we'll have to figure out in terms of who's getting nominated, because obviously neither of these 2 are winning. You have Carey Mulligan for The Ballad of Wallace Island, who I'm going with because, you know, Carey Mulligan has been nominated for more surprising things in the past. Like, I remember she got a nomination for She Said in supporting actress. I was like, whoa. And then I have Odessa Azion for Marty Supreme, who did not get the Oscar nomination. But again, there are 6 slots here, and in this long list, they did not put in Elle Fanning. So I feel like that does give reason for Odessa Azion to be nominated here. Which again, if this happened before Oscar nominations, and she does get nominated, well then damn, like we really would have been predicting her to get a nomination with SAG and BAFTA. But again, it's just like there are 6 slots. One of the slots isn't, you know, like is not going to go to someone who got the Oscar nomination. So it's like, eh. But again, there is also Emily Watson for Hamnet, and having seen Hamnet, I don't know what people were saying. She does make a case to be nominated for supporting actress. She definitely makes a case. Like, she definitely has a lot of scenes where she does do a lot of heavy lifting with the acting. It's like she could, but again, I don't know. We'll have to see. Gwyneth Paltrow for Marty Supreme. I don't think that's happening. Brenda Blethyn for Dragonfly. Probably not. And again, I'm just not doing Ariana Grande for Wicked for Good because the BAFTA, like the Oscars, fucking hated this movie. They hated Wicked for Good so much, and even the BAFTAs were not as kind to the film, to the first film. So I'm like, why would I predict it here? Why? In what world would I do this? No. Then we get to supporting actor. I feel like Stellan Skarsgård could win here. Because again, I have been saying that the Oscars like sentimental value more than the BAFTAs. But again, he did win the Golden Globe, so that is pretty, like, significant. So they could probably go for him here. But it's also kind of weird because he's also not nominated at SAG. So it's kind of like, huh. Because really, I mean, honestly, supporting actor is, like, really up in the air. I think it's kind of between, like, I don't know. Like, I don't think Jacob Elordi's winning here. I mean, if he did, I'd be like, whoa, okay, so they really are just going for him. But I don't know. I feel like something like, you know, Stellan Skarsgård screams more BAFTA and Oscar to me, because he has he does have a more traditional kind of performance like that would maybe win an Oscar, and also, you know, there is also a big career narrative for him, so maybe. But I'm just not exactly sure, because you also do have Benicio del Toro and Sean Penn. One of these two could also win the BAFTA. And again, it would just kind of show how strong one battle after another is. So again, I'm just not sure. But it is kind of weird, though, that like neither of them have won neither of them have won a televised award yet. Neither of them won Critics' Choice or Golden Globe. So it's just kind of like, huh. Then we get to the rest of the nominees, because again, what would be expected of me to do would be to put in Paul Mescal, but the fact that he missed the Oscars, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Do I do this? Because there are a couple things that I could do. For one, Andrew Scott for Blue Moon. I mean, knowing Blue Moon did get an original screenplay nomination at the Oscars, you could probably say, hey, maybe he gets a nomination here at BAFTA. Because again, there are 6 slots, and we have pretty much found out that Blue Moon is pretty strong in some respects. I mean, hell, you can make an argument that it was like number, 11 for Best Picture at the Oscars, knowing that it got a screenplay nomination. It came dangerously close. And then there's Delroy Lindo for Sinners. Now, again, it's kind of like, would they do that? But then again, I think I am going to do that, because if I didn't, then that would just be kind of weird if, like, Delroy Lindo, I mean, he technically did get into the Oscars without any precursors. But, like, let's just say the BAFTAs did happen before the Oscar nominations. Delroy Lindo not getting in, and he it would have truly been Delroy Lindo like getting in without any buzz. That would be insane. So I don't know. Maybe he does get in. Also, apparently he was born in the UK. Although I don't know. I don't know. I so maybe he'd be considered British, but I'm not exactly sure. Then we have Paul Mescal for Hamnet at number 7. And again, he could just get in. But again, it would just be so weird for like Paul Mescal to get in literally everywhere. And then Delroy Lindo just shows up without any precursors, which again is technically what happened, but it's like we didn't have BAFTA nominations to go off of. And it's kind of like, would BAFTA nominate Paul Mescal over Delroy Lindo? I don't know. Again, maybe they do, so maybe I'm stupid. I don't know. Alexander Skarsgård for Pillion. Peter Mullen for I Swear. Adam Sandler for Jay Kelly. Probably not going to happen, especially not Jay Kelly and how, like, that film just absolutely disappeared and just doesn't exist, so, yeah. Next, we get to original screenplay. This is where I think I can move away from what the Oscars did a little bit. I still think Sinners wins original screenplay at BAFTA. But you're probably wondering, like, wait, why do you think Sinners would win the BAFTA? I mean, they did give, you know, American Fiction best adapted screenplay. And it's just kind of like nothing else just really seems to be as strong. Again, sentimental value, it's like that hasn't really shown any strength in terms of winning screenplay anywhere. Like, even at the Golden Globes, they didn't give it to sentimental value. I mean, granted, they did give it to One Battle After Another, who was just like which was just a stronger film overall, and it wasn't even nominated. Like, it was an adapted screenplay, so that doesn't really help us. But I don't know. Like, I feel like Sinners could probably just still win here, because it still did very, very well on the shortlists. I mean, literally the only shortlist it really didn't get was like visual effects, which for BAFTA is just weird, but still. Marty Supreme, again, it's just not really compelling me that much as a threat to beat Sinners in original screenplay, so no. I would have said it was just an accident, but that film just did not get nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars even. So it's just kind of like, I can't even make that argument. And then we have I Swear, which again, I could do Blue Moon, but do I really want to go 5 out of 5? I could. Sometimes BAFTA does do that. I mean, hell, look what they did with you know, adapted screenplay last year. See, that's what's interesting, because like that did help me predict, you know, that Dune Part 2 would get snubbed out of Best Adapted Screenplay when the BAFTAs snubbed it in favor of Nickel Boys and Sing Sing, which the BAFTAs did not really seem to care all that much for in the shortlists. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. But still, I don't know. Maybe Blue Moon gets in, but I have a feeling that I Swear, especially if it's going to be shortlisted for Best Film, they're probably going to want to nominate it somewhere. So I'm going Accident at number 4 and I Swear at number 5. But again, maybe Blue Moon gets in over Accident. I don't know. The Secret Agent at number 7. I don't think that's going to get in. It didn't even get in at the Oscars, and they seem to like it a little bit more than BAFTA, so I don't know. Weapons, A House of Dynamite, is this thing on? So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not really convinced of some of these. That last slot is really like between It Was Just an Accident, I Swear, and Blue Moon. So, yeah. Then we get to adapted screenplay. I'm just going to do the Oscar 5 because it's just easy. This is the same 5 that got in at Critics' Choice. It's the same 5 that got in at the Oscars. It's probably going to be the WGA 5. And so there's no real reason to doubt this 5 here. Really, there just isn't. So yeah, which is, you know, One Battle After Another, I think, is winning. Hamnet's number 2. Number 3 is Begonia. Number 4 is Frankenstein. Number 5 is Train Dreams. Again, I just don't really see a reason to deviate. I mean, again, because like the BAFTAs and the Oscars, sometimes they do get really close to one another in terms of who gets nominated. Like, sometimes they do go 5 out of 5 in the writing categories. So, yeah. Ballad of Lost Island, maybe, but it's also like, I don't know. I feel like these other films are just too strong and align a little bit too much with the Oscars, which is sometimes what the BAFTAs do in the screenplay categories. Pillion, Nuremberg, Wake Up Dead Man, and 28 Years Later. Again, I'm not really convinced. Again, No Other Choice should be on here. I'm upset that it's not, so damn it. Anyways, casting. This is interesting because they did not longlist The Secret Agent, so you could do a little bit of differences here. Now, I don't really know what to do. I'm going to try and play it safe by going the Oscar 4, which is Hamnet, Sinners, One Battle After Another at 1, 2, and 3. And then Marty Supreme at number 5. And at number 4, I'll put in Sentimental Value. Maybe they put it in there because nothing else is really compelling me. Like there was I Swear at number 6, Frankenstein at number 7, Surratt at number 8, number 9 is Pillion, and number 10 is A House of Dynamite. But again, I'm just not sure. Now, why do I think Hamnet could win casting? Well, I mean, they do cast some child actors, especially Jacoby Jupe, which is interesting. So, but again, I don't know. Like, the BAFTA, even the BAFTAs, it's kind of like, I don't know what their categories are all about, really. So, it is a little tough. Then we get to cinematography. This is where I'm going to deviate from the Oscars for, like, one nomination. Because I have Sinners at number 1, number 2, One Battle After Another, number 3, Train Dreams. These are the 3 that I think are duking it out for the win. Number 4 is Frankenstein. Again, makes sense. But then there's number 5. I could do Marty Supreme, but that's also the ASC 5 and the Oscar 5, and I don't think it's going to be that simple. ASC does go 5 out of 5 at the Oscars quite a bit. Not so much the BAFTAs. The BAFTAs will do things that are different from the Academy. And considering they nominated Lucas Zoll for the Zone of Interest, they might nominate Hamnet for cinematography here. So there's that. But again, they could do Begonia, which I have at number 7. Like, they really do like Yorgos Lanthimos' films, so maybe they just do Begonia. F1, I don't think so. Die My Love, I don't think so. And Ballad of a Small Player, I don't think so. It is pretty impressive that Ballad of a Small Player got into the top 10. That's pretty impressive for it. Editing. Knowing the BAFTAs, how are they not going to give it to F1 at this point? I mean, especially now that F1 has Best Picture. Because, like, remember how I was saying, like, oh yeah, I really don't see F1 winning editing because it's just not in Best Picture, or it's not gonna win sound because it's not nominated for it's not gonna get nominated for Best Picture. Well, now that it is nominated for Best Picture, it most certainly can win. It's like, it's so funny because I was so staunch in like, look guys, they're not going to do F1 in editing and sound, at least in terms of the wins. I mean, I was also saying that about F1 getting a nomination for editing, but I was also saying that more so in terms of winning, because I was like, there's no way it's winning, editing and sound without a Best Picture nomination. Just absolutely no way. And it's like the Oscars went, all right, bet, and then nominated it for Best Picture. It's like, okay, well, now it can win. And knowing the BAFTAs, they love movies about cars. They love car movies when it comes to the editing category. So, they may very well just give F1 editing. Now, granted, One Battle After Another also does have some car stuff, sure. But at the same time, F1 has more car stuff. I mean, good God, I think they even gave, what was that movie called? I think they even gave, like, Rush Best Film Editing, which is crazy. And also No Time to Die. No Time to Die wasn't even nominated for the Oscar. That was not even nominated for the Oscar, and it won editing at BAFTA. Because, again, the car scenes. So I'm kind of thinking, well, I mean, F1 is literally the car movie, and it's also, I guess kind of British, because it involves F1, and so it's like, I don't know. So maybe this is a case where F1 just does take editing here. And if it took Critics' Choice, and if it takes the BAFTA, I'm sorry, you kind of have to predict it for the win for the Oscar. I'm doing that right now. I actually am predicting F1 to win editing and sound at the Oscars. And another category as well, which I'm not excited to talk about, but we will discuss that when we get to that category. Anyways, One Battle After Another, again, that could maybe also win editing here, because cars. So there is also Marty Supreme. Maybe. I could see that, but I don't know. I think it's going to get nominated. Sinners, I could see a world where it takes the Oscar for editing, especially since, like, the editing category has kind of become Best Picture adjacent in recent years. I mean, good God, look no further than Anora winning film editing. There was no reason to do that other than them just loving the movie that much. Because, my God, I still can't explain that, and I'm still kind of pissed off about that. Like, that was that year's worst win. Like, or like that may have been like the worst win of that night. But still. Sinners could still win editing at the Oscars. I'm not predicting it to. I am predicting F1 over it. But if they really do love the film that much, they could give it editing. I don't know. And then Begonia for best editing. I think I will do it because, sure, that also does mean that I'm going against the grain from the Oscars a little bit. But at the same time, I feel like Begonia has a little bit more of a home turf advantage. And now that we know that the Oscars just did not nominate Hamnet, it's like, well, I mean, you know, maybe Begonia could show some strength here. Frankenstein, that's just never been like in the conversation for editing. House of Dynamite, Weapons, 28 Years Later, no. I'm actually pretty good and set on editing here. I'm like, especially now knowing that F1 has Best Picture at the Oscars. It's like, oh God, now that actually can win editing. And I find it funny, that was like my whole argument. Like my whole argument for not predicting it was like, well, guys, if it were, you know, I can't predict it to win editing or sound. Like no, because it's not in Best Picture. And then they actually just did it, and it's just like, oh God, now I have to actually reckon with that possibility. But here's the thing, my logic was still correct. I was like, it's not gonna get nominated or win editing. It's not gonna like do that well with sound and editing if it's not in Best Picture. And well, they nominated it for Best Picture, so my logic still stands. So yeah, yeah. Production design, all right. Easy, Frankenstein's winning this. Hamnet, Sinners, Marty Supreme, all right, sure. But again, this is where we can differ a little bit. Because again, Wicked's not going to get nominated here. Absolutely not. Again, the BAFTAs like hated they did not like the first Wicked as much as the Oscars did. And now that the Oscars completely shut out Wicked for good, there's no way you can tell me that Wicked for Good isn't going to do even worse. Like, it's going to get negative nominations. What they're going to do is that they're going to take, like, whatever shortlist mentions Wicked for Good had in the long lists, and BAFTA's just going to take those away. Like, that's how badly Wicked's going to do here at the BAFTAs. So, I could do one battle after another, which would mean I'm, like, 5 out of 5, which, all right, with what the Oscars did, which, for some of the craft categories, you can do that. But I do kind of wonder how much they will love Begonia. So maybe I'll do Begonia here, but again, I don't know. Check my award expert to see if I ever switch this to one battle after another, because maybe I could. Mickey 17, I could see happening. Fantastic Four, I wish that happened at the Oscars. I'm so upset that it didn't happen. Again, Wicked for Good, not happening. Absolutely not. And then Ballad of a Small Player, probably not. Costume design, all right? Frankenstein, Hamnet, Sinners, Marty Supreme. Now, the Oscars, out of nowhere, nominated Avatar Fire and Ash, which is probably one of the most shocking Oscar nominations of the decade so far. Like, how did that happen? Again, they hated Wicked for Good so much they would rather do, like, Avatar, the CGI costume movie that no one had in their predictions, and just, like, they did that. It's like, what? So, yeah. But Avatar is not shortlisted here. So, what are some of the options? Well, I was thinking, like, I was thinking about doing one battle after another, but then again, it's like one battle after another did not completely max out on nominations at the Oscars. It didn't max out on nominations. And if anything, it kind of missed a couple of big nominations. So, it's like, ooh, okay. There are, but also Hedda is not nominated, is not shortlisted here, so that does make things really tough. Downton Abbey, that is British, but at the same time, they didn't nominate the other Downton Abbey movies. So what do I do here? I may actually just go for Nouvelle Vague, I don't know. I could do Begonia, but also it's like, is Begonia really going to overperform that well at BAFTA? Because I could maybe see them doing production design, because there are some kind of, like, it's a little bit more contemporary, but you could see it. Costumes, though, I'm just not sure. I think maybe they could just do Nouvelle Vogue, so I don't know. But again, there is also One Battle After Another. Maybe they do that, but it's just like, I don't know. Like, the trajectory for One Battle After Another is kind of funny. Wicked for Good, again, like, I no. And then Nuremberg, probably not. So, yeah. Makeup and hairstyling. Again, I can't really predict Wicked for Good here now, because it's like, oh. But the weird thing is, like, I can't really go for, like, the smart money would be to go 4 out of 5 with what the Oscars did. But here's the problem. The two big surprises that got into makeup this year are not long-listed here, because the Oscars nominated The Ugly Stepsister and Kokuho. They are not on here, so I physically cannot go 4 out of 5 here. Because, like, yeah, Frankenstein, Sinners, Smashing Machine, alright, yeah, whatever, yeah, I'm gonna get those. What else could I possibly do? Marty Supreme, maybe, because, like, they do less prosthetics than the Oscars, so maybe. And then maybe, I guess I'll just default to One Battle After Another and miss the Oscar nomination, but, like, it was doing pretty well initially. Like, it still did very well at the Makeup Guild. But still, I just don't know. Begonia, I mean, I don't know. That, even for BAFTA, that would just be weird of them to do. It's like, really? Like, they just shaved her head and put cream on her face. It's like, that's not, like, the most insane makeup thing ever, you know? So I am kind of wondering if they'll do Begonia, but I'm not sure. Maybe they do Nuremberg out of nowhere. But again, that would just be, it's just such a strange thing to think about. And plus, they didn't nominate The Apprentice last year, but again, I don't know. Wicked for Good, again, that makes sense. Like, if the Oscar nominations didn't already happen, I would be predicting Wicked. But the Oscars hated that movie so much. So I just can't. Hamnet and Downton Abbey, the grand finale, I don't know. I just can't. I don't know. This category is just really hard because of the 2 slots that ended up going to the Oscars. And it was just 2 movies that were just not shortlisted here. So it's weird. Special visual effects. Again, this is a category where you typically want to go 4 out of 5 with what the Oscars did. And you're kind of forced to do that now because the BAFTAs did not longlist Sinners for visual effects, which in hindsight is kind of weird because the BAFTAs the BAFTAs are a lot like Critics' Choice, where they will glaze Best Picture films in visual effects. Like, unlike the Oscars, they did nominate Poor Things. Hell, they gave Poor Things the win. They did nominate Everything Everywhere All at Once. They did nominate Dunkirk, The Shape of Water. They did give Black Panther the win for Best Visual Effects. They did nominate Arrival. So they will go for Best Picture films. But here, they just didn't do Sinners. If anything, I thought this would maybe be closer to what the Oscar shortlist would be like. So this is just weird. Like that, the Oscar shortlist didn't look like this. So yeah, I think obviously Avatar: Fire and Ash is getting nominated, but I'm not gonna lie, the fact that F1 and Sinners are now Best Picture nominees in visual effects, I'm fucking scared now, because now you have reasons to maybe predict a snub for, at least in terms of a win, because it's gonna get F1, like Avatar: Fire and Ash. It's for what it's been nominated for the Oscar for visual effects. But if you wanted reason to doubt that it wins the Oscar, F1 getting Best Picture and Sinners even getting into visual effects, yeah, there's reasons to be concerned. And F1 looks like very much like Frankenstein. It could be a big tech juggernaut, which is right now why I'm predicting it to win editing, sound, and I can't believe I'm even saying this, visual effects. Because clearly they didn't care about Avatar that much. Now, granted, people are going to say, well, I mean, Avatar got costumes, so they seem to like it quite a bit. It's like, but I don't know if that's really more so how strong Avatar was, and not more of a commentary on like how much they absolutely despised Wicked. I think like that whole Wicked snub thing must have been like a coordinated effort, because everyone snubbed Wicked, even in categories where it made sense to give it a nomination, like makeup. But still, like, Avatar is just not as strong as the other two films, didn't get into Best Picture, and F1 and Sinners are in Best Picture. Now, again, we're talking about BAFTA here, not you know, the Oscars. So why am I going with F1? Well, again, it looks like it could win at least 2 other Oscars, knowing that it's now in Best Picture. And I'm wondering if this could pull like a 1917, where it's like, oh, that's the subtle visual effects. We like those now. And again, I'm not saying this is fair. It's not, but I do worry about voters potentially going, but we've seen Avatar before. Which again is not fair, because objectively speaking, Avatar's visual effects are light years ahead of everything else that's competing. But I do worry that the lack of passion for Avatar could hurt it in visual effects. I genuinely do, because like, aside from Ex Machina beating 3 Best Picture nominees and a Star Wars film, which was probably a result of maybe vote splitting, because I can't explain it any other way. Aside from the Ex Machina year, like, you have to go all the way back to the 70s for a non-Best Picture nominee to beat a Best Picture nominee in visual effects for the win. So knowing that, it's kind of like, I do worry about F1 potentially winning the Oscar for visual effects. If it wins, and that's why I'm thinking it might win BAFTA, because BAFTA, like, is like, in terms of their taste for the winners, they're pretty similar to the Oscars. They do pick favorites for the winners quite a bit. I mean, again, there's no reason why Poor Things or Black Panther should have won Best Visual Effects, other than, well, they were just the favorites for Best Picture. Like, they were like the favorites in those in that category. So, I do worry. So yeah, F1, The Lost Bus. I mean, there's really no reason to doubt it now. It's like, yeah, and again, if you want to go 4 out of 5 with the Oscars, then you might want to put in Jurassic World Rebirth. I can't believe I'm saying this, but like, damn, I mean, that's another one of the most shocking nominations I've seen in recent years. The fact that Jurassic World Rebirth actually made it in, which again, which I'm not gonna lie, I kind of do respect, because that movie sucked, and like people just did not really like that film. So the visual effects branch kind of just nominated it. Like, you can't really make the argument that they nominated it just because, you know, they like the movie. I don't think the visual effects branch usually does that anyway. I mean, granted, the Sinners nomination is just kind of inexplicable, because like, how the fuck do you explain that with its like VES performance, and knowing that had been out for the longest time. So like, it's not even like an All Quiet situation where that film was just like so late in the game. And it's just like, they just probably hadn't seen it up to that point. It's like, Sinners doing not as well as it could have at VES, and then just getting the Oscar nomination like that, so out of character for the visual effects branch, for them to nominate it. But still, regardless, other than Sinners, like, the visual effects branch doesn't really care about whether the movie is well liked or not, usually. And so I do respect it when they do stuff like Jurassic World Rebirth, where it's like, no one likes the movie, but I mean, hey, the visual effects were very, very good. And honestly, looking at Corridor Crew's video on Jurassic World Rebirth effects, and they do, there is a lot of attention to detail with the visual effects in Rebirth, a lot more than I initially thought. And like, how much of it was actually CGI, and how seamless a lot of it actually was. A lot of it had to do with like water scene, like the scenes that were going on in the water, which again, really impressive work there. I mean, goddamn, they actually did it. So yeah, if you want to go 4 out of 5 with the Oscars, I mean, I guess the only way you can, is that, considering Sinners is not here, is that you go with Jurassic World Rebirth. So yeah. But then, what's the fifth slot? This is where I am going to do Frankenstein. Now, you're probably wondering, wait, but you were just saying that, because, it was, even though it was nominated for Best Picture, it completely blanked at VES, and so you said there was, no way it was going to get nominated for the Oscar. I did say that, but here's the thing. We're talking about BAFTA now. BAFTA plays by different rules. As I said before and stated earlier with earlier examples, they do nominate movies for visual effects at the BAFTAs based on how much they like the movie. The BAFTAs just do. They are more like Critics' Choice in their picks for visual effects than they are with the Oscars. The Oscars do seem to pay attention to the details of the visual effects a little bit more, but I don't know what it is with BAFTA. They will nominate Poor Things, and they will nominate Everything Everywhere All at Once. And Everything Everywhere All at Once did not even make the Oscar shortlist, and yet they put it in there. So it's kind of like, So I will put in Frankenstein because the BAFTAs will nominate, big Best Picture films in visual effects all willy-nilly. So yeah. But again, there are some other options. You could do Mickey 17. That didn't get in the Oscar shortlist, which would be, so that's kind of weird. Superman, I would have thought that was one I was kind of upset over. It's like, damn, man, really? Superman couldn't get into visual effects? That sucks. I would probably do the Oscar 5, do the Oscar 4, which would be, in my personal visual effects list, I would do Avatar, Lost Bus, F1, and honestly, looking more deeply into the effects of Jurassic World Rebirth, probably would actually nominate that too. But then for me, I would take out Sinners and put in Superman. Love Sinners. That's the best movie of the year. One of the best movies of the decade. But however, visual effects even that's a little bit too far for me. So Superman not getting in for visual effects, that sucks. And I don't expect it to get into BAFTA. Then we got Tron Ares. All right, Tron Ares, I feel like, obviously, yeah. How to Train Your Dragon, yeah. And then Wicked for Good. Again, Wicked for Good I have at the bottom of the list because the Oscars hated Wicked for Good, and the BAFTAs are going to hate it even more. Sound. Again, this is another win I'm thinking that I think F1's going to get. Editing, sound, makes sense. And especially now that it is in Best Picture at the Oscars, why not? Sinners has been doing pretty well with sound wins so far, so I am kind of wondering if that could win sound. We'll have to see. One battle after another. Frankenstein. That's 4 or 5 of the Oscars. But however, Surat is not long listed here at BAFTA. So what could they do? I'm going with Warfare. It is British. That is a film that people were very much saying, why didn't that get in the shortlist for, for sound? And sometimes the BAFTAs will do that. Sometimes they will nominate films that did not make the Oscar shortlist, but they feel like, hey, we'll just do it here anyway. Like how they did with Tar and they did not do Tar and Score. No, they did not do that. They did shortlist it though. But for example, what they did with Everything Everywhere All at Once for visual effects, they did nominate that. So it's just kind of So I will go Warfare here. Also, I think the BAFTAs nominated The Substance for sound. I think the BAFTAs did The Substance for sound. So again, they could probably do Warfare here. They could, but again, there is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, but I don't know. A lone sound nomination here just doesn't sound right. Avatar: Fire and Ash, I don't think so. Wicked for Good, Begonia: The Lost Bus, I don't know. I'm actually pretty good with this 5. This 5 actually does make a lot of sense to me, but we'll have to see. Original score, all right. Oopsies. Yeah, original score. So I have Sinners at number 1. I think no matter how well it does at the BAFTAs, or how badly it does at the BAFTAs, I do think Sinners wins original score here. One battle after another, I think it's going to get nominated here. Hamnet, Begonia, same as the Oscar nominees. What do I think is going to happen at the at the BAFTAs? Because I could do Frankenstein, but also that would go 5 out of 5, and I don't know if I can go 5 out of 5 with BAFTA. Because, I don't know. I mean, I could, maybe, but it's also, score? When was the last time we did go 5 out of 5 with the BAFTAs for score. I can't remember when the last time we did that was. So I'm taking out Frankenstein. I don't know if that's the smart move, because I don't know what I would take out. Because I don't think I could take out Begonia, because Begonia feels like that would be where, again, if we were just looking at the precursors, then like, you know, I feel like if BAFTA came before the Oscar nominations, I feel like Begonia would show up here and we're like, oh shit, it's getting nominated for the Oscar. So I don't know. I may just do Nuremberg instead, but again, if Frankenstein just comes in here and I'm just like, well, okay, I should have just stuck with the Oscar 5. I don't know. Because, like, Nuremberg does sound like a random score nomination, but sometimes the BAFTAs have done that. Like, they did that with, like, Being the Ricardos, though Daniel Pemberton is also, like, a pretty well-known BAFTA, or, like, a British composer, so, I don't know, maybe, so, I don't know. Marty Supreme, maybe, but again, it didn't even get the Oscar nomination, so, like, Ballad of Wallace Island, Wicked for Good, 28 years later, probably not, so, no. Animated feature, we only have 3 nominees this year. We have a short list of 6 films, and we're only going to get 3. So I think it's just going to be very easy. Little Amelie, Arco, and Zootopia 2. Now, what's weird is that, you know, the... Like what was it? The BAFTAs deemed K-pop Demon Hunters ineligible because it did not play in enough like theatrical markets. So this is interesting. Again, I'm probably gonna go with these 3. Maybe Little Amelie wins, or maybe Arco wins, but I don't know. I think no matter what, it's still gonna be like K-pop Demon Hunters that wins the Oscar, because Little Amelie and Arco, they're not nominated for the PGA, and the reason why I'm concerned about that is because, you know, PGA, like, obviously whoever wins PGA for animated feature doesn't really matter because they're just going to pick the biggest American blockbuster anyway. It does matter if you're nominated at PGA, though, because Klaus, despite winning the Annie and the BAFTA, it was not nominated at PGA. It was in, you know, PGA animated feature, they tend to skew more normie, not as like international or artistic as some of the other voting bodies do. And so, yeah, and so, yeah, like they did not nominate Klaus, and that ended up losing the Oscar to Toy Story 4. But then you look at Boy and the Heron. That became the first ever non-English language film to be nominated for Best Animated Feature at the PGA, Producers Guild Awards, which is pretty significant. And then Flow got nominated. Flow! That is crazy, man. Flow got nominated. Huh. So it's kind of like, okay, so Flow is popular. That movie, that was a populist film. But neither Little Amelie or Arco were populist. I don't think they're populist enough because they did not get nominated at PGA. So I feel like it's kind of done for those films. And I don't think Zootopia 2 is going to suddenly win the BAFTA because, you know, like, even the first film didn't win. Like, it lost Best Animated Feature to Kubo and the Two Strings. So it's just kind of like, oh, okay, what? But then on the outside looking in, what could happen? Elio, maybe. Bad Guys 2. But then you have Bad Guys 2. I don't think that's going to happen. And then Demon Slayer, Infinity Castle, just no, not happening. Again, this is just a very easy 3 to do. So, yeah. Especially if you're not going to have K-pop Demon Hunters. But ultimately, whatever wins the BAFTA is just not going to matter because I think at this point, K-pop Demon Hunters is just sweeping. It is just going to sweep. So, yeah. Children's and family film. Honestly, I could probably, like, considering the Oscars, not the Oscars, but the BAFTAs last year just kind of did animated films. I might just do that here too, because I thought, oh no, you know, maybe they'll do, you know, like something like what did I end up predicting? Did I like what? Oh yeah, I tried predicting Young Woman in the Sea for that. But no, it just went to the obvious film. So I was like, what was it? Like, Wild Robot, you know, Flow, Wallace and Gromit, and, like, some other random animated film. So I'm just going to play it safe here and just go Little Amelie, Arco, Zootopia 2, and Elio. I'm just going to try to keep it simple, because there may be How to Train Your Dragon, Boong, Grow, and Lilo and Stitch, but I'm just not expecting. I'm just gonna try to play it safe here. So yeah. Film not in the English language. Oh, I don't want to have to do the Oscar 5 but I kind of have to right now, because there is I don't know, whoever like winning is going to be interesting because it might be sentimental value. But it could, like, I don't know if it would be Secret Agent. I don't think Secret Agent wins, which is interesting because it won the Golden Globe and the Critics' Choice Award, which, I don't know, maybe it wins the Oscar too, but it's also like, damn, like the BAFTAs might just go for sentimental value. And at that point, it's going to make trying to predict international feature at the Oscars a little harder, because it's like sentimental, like the Secret Agent, if that's the front runner right now, it doesn't really have the backlash that Emilia Perez had. So, but it's just kind of like, well, what gets nominated at the what wins international feature at the Oscars? The film with 9 nominations, or the film with 3? With obviously one of them is Best Picture. So it's just kind of like, But over here at the BAFTAs, maybe they do just give it to sentimental value because it's just a significantly stronger film. So I don't know. Secret Agent, though, easily getting nominated. Accident, easily getting nominated. And then there's the last 2 slots, which is really hard. It's between 3 films. The Voice of Henry Rajab, Surat, and No Other Choice. I want to put in No Other Choice. I really want to do that. Especially since the BAFTAs have been kind to Park Chan-wook before. But even Decision to Leave performed way better in the long lists than No Other Choice did. Even without the juried categories like directing and, and stuff like that, it's like it still got into a lot of other shortlists. Like I think it got into, like, what was it? Original screenplay, that shortlist, I think. So I don't know. The fact that No Other Choice just really, really did not do well at BAFTA at all. I'm kind of wondering, do they just do The Voice of Hind Rajab and Surat? Because The Voice of Hind Rajab, that is compelling because that did get longlisted for director. So that could probably show some strength. But then there's also Surat, and then there's Surat, which I think this is its only nomination. I don't know. Actually, no, it did get into casting. It did get into the casting long list. So maybe that's the strength. Maybe that shows the strength. Whereas No Other Choice, this is the only place where No Other Choice showed up. Which again is very uncharacteristic for BAFTA because they actually do tend to like Park Chan-wook's movies. So, there is also Nouvelle Vague. It did get into, what was it? Costume design. So there's that. Left-Handed Girl. Rental Family is weird. That was a weird one that actually happened. And La Grazia. But again, I don't know. It's really, but the last 2, I feel like the last 2 slots are really just between 3 movies. The Voice of Hind Rajab, Surat, and No Other Choice. So it's tough. And I've actually now finally seen The Voice of Hind Rajab. Absolutely masterful film. I'm still upset that No Other Choice didn't get nominated because that's still for me the second best film of 2025. But still, The Voice of Hind Rajab is really freaking fantastic. I mean, hell, I'm not gonna lie. Out of the nominees that we did get, I actually would bump out Sentimental Value to put in No Other Choice because it's like, I think Sentimental Value is good, but do I think it's better than these other contenders? Secret Agent, Accident, Hind Rajab, Surat, and No Other Choice? No. It's like the weakest film of the bunch, even though it's still good. So it's just kind of like, But still, I might just do the Oscar 5 here because No Other Choice just didn't, like, if it won, again, I would not be doing this if it wasn't for the fact that No Other Choice just did not perform well in the BAFTA long lists at all. I mean, my God. Documentary feature is really hard. I didn't even do well in the Oscar category, so with the Oscars, so I don't know. The Perfect Neighbor, Apocalypse in the Tropics, Ocean with David Attenborough because David Attenborough, Mr. Nobody Against Putin, and 2,000 Meters to Andrivka. I don't know. sue me. I don't know what's going on in this category. I'm very bad at documentary feature. Cover Up, Becoming Led Zeppelin, 1-to-1, John and Yoko, Riefenstahl, and I don't know if is it pronounced Riefenstahl or Riefenstahl? I don't know. Then the Librarians, but again, I don't know what's happening in this category. I'm not going to act like I know what's going on in this category. British debut, again, I'm not exactly sure what's going on here either. I feel like the three locks would be like Pillion, Urchin, and My Father's Shadow. I'm just kind of going on a whim and saying Waste Man and A Want in Her. Ocean with David Attenborough is kind of compelling because, again, it's David Attenborough, but I don't know if I can quite do that. The Man in My Basement, Mother Vera, The Ceremony, and The Shadow Scholars. Again, I don't know, maybe. Again, don't take my predictions here too seriously for these categories, because even I don't know what I'm doing with some of these. And then the final category we'll be talking about today, Best British Film. I think, damn it, hold on. Okay, fix that little doohickey right there. Anyways, there's 3 locks for Best British Film, honestly. Like, you got Hamnet, I Swear, and The Ballad of Lost Island. They were longlisted for Best Film. Easy. Pillion might win British Debut, so I'm putting it there. And Die My Love made a few good BAFTA long lists, so I don't really see a reason to doubt it in here, to be honest. But then we got the latter 5, where we have 28 Years Later, which, again, did very well on the long lists. I'll probably put it in here, too. Warfare, it got a couple of long lists, so might as well put it in here. Steve, I think Cillian Murphy got in for lead actor in the long list, so probably. And then there's the last 2. There's H is for Hawk Tua. I'll probably put that in there. I think that was had some decent buzz behind it. The Roses, maybe, but again, I'm just not sure, because there is Ballad of a Small Player, but the reviews for that movie were not very good at all. Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy, would seem like it makes sense. But, however, I don't think they care about that anymore, because this is like the 4th movie? And it's like this one wasn't even released in theaters in the US, I think. It just went straight to TV, so, ugh. So, yeah, The Corral, maybe, actually, well, I don't know. Goodbye June and Mr. Burton. I'm just not sure, so we'll have to see. But anyways, guys, those are my BAFTA nominations predictions. And now I'm going to pass the question off to you. What are your BAFTA predictions for the nominations? Let me know in the comments below what you think, and be sure you hit that subscribe button, because if you don't, I will pee myself. I gotta use the bathroom right now. Holy shit. Bye.